Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Pattison Ave Phanatics Show. I'm your host, Tom Kelly. With me, as always, Joseph Marks.
Red October.
So loud you are. James Scorza.
What's going on, everybody?
Damon Salim.
Good morning. Happy Saturday.
Frank is at Casa de Finnegan, and Dave Yarnell has some stuff going on today, so you got us four. Good morning, Norm.
Norm.
Yes. Excellent.
Pattison Ave, where everybody knows your name.
Everybody knows your name. Listen.
Yep.
Wow. October is by far the best sports month in this city.
It really is.
For a multitude of reasons. You know, when NBA and NHL start up and you get to forget about what happened last year and look forward to this year, playoff baseball in this town. What a game yesterday. Your Eagles are undefeated and the only undefeated team left in football. You heard that, Norm. The only undefeated team left in football. Norm's a Commanders fan, so I gotta razz him a little bit.
I feel bad for you, Norm.
Sorry. You're going to have a good draft pick.
Pat Bernard's checking in.
What's going on, Pat?
Happy Saturday, fellas.
You got to look at the, glass half full, Norm.
Red Rocket is out.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
Now Pat's
Did not take long for that to happen.
Pat is now banned from the program until further notice for inappropriate actions. Oh my goodness gracious! Give you the same. Never mind. I don't even want to.
Pat, ceasefire.
You got it. So, how much fun was that game yesterday?
Ooh. Oh man,
it's amazing because you, like I said before, with this team under Rob Thompson, you never get the feeling like you're really entirely out of it. Joe brought this up on the car ride up. This Phillies team plays all 27 outs.
Yeah.
Like they will grind it. And that was proof yesterday. I mean, it got bleak. I'm not lying, but because I'm watching that 2-run home run and I'm going, oh shit. Like, here we go. I'm like, if you haven't hit off the pitchers yet, they only had 2 or 3 hits up to that point in the 8th inning. I'm like, oh boy.
They were struggling. The bats were struggling.
And I said this before. My major concern for the Phillies this playoff run is not the pitching. It's the inconsistent hitting. Yeah. If their bats don't show up, this is a bad team. But if this team's bat and think about it, 6 runs in the 9th without a home run. That was, they make their bread and butter by the long ball. Yeah. And that, all 6 runs, none of them.
All small ball yesterday.
Yep. So you simplify the game, and man, it made for an exciting finish.
Morning, Mike Lauro.
Morning, Mike.
Good morning. Yeah. Oh, sorry, James.
I was going to say, I'm still shocked about it, honestly. Like, every time when I think about it, like, when that whole thing happened, it was just like, it's like, what the hell did I watch? It's like, it was just like trying to explain it like last night to a couple of friends of mine, and I was like saying, "Wow!" I'm like, "Holy shit!" It's like, that's the one thing I could just come out of it. Yeah, but I think today Rob Cherry nailed it on the head last night. If you have like Mr. October and Aaron Nola today, I think you'll be in a good case that you might be seeing the Braves sooner rather than later.
Ooh. Yeah, and piggyback on what both of you guys said. It came to me, Joe. I knew thought we were in trouble at least, and I think it's the 3rd inning. We left guys on base, and then moving up, Bohm starts off, and I'm a stickler to saying in baseball, whoever's at the top of the order when and he gets a hit, he gets on base, that's trouble for both sides. So he gets on second base. And they couldn't move him. I mean, it's a double. I think it's a third base, but they couldn't move him.
Yeah.
And Virles gets on in first, swing out or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, this is crazy. So what happens in the 9th inning when this thing takes place, and we have guys on base, and when Bohm gets hit with the ball, James.
Yeah. Talk about taking one for the team.
Took one for the team. He actually got out. It grazed him more than anything because the umpire got the most, but he got it. He got touched. He got touched without a doubt. So I said, all right. And then when they did the old bit, and I'm listening on the radio, LA's going off because I'm one of those guys. I got to if it's a national game, I got to hear some local. That's how I watch the Eagles games anyway. But anyway, So LA's going. He's like, this is ridiculous. What are they doing? But apparently, he had gotten hurt. Pitcher a couple days prior, so they would check. But it was still some old coy to try to get ready for the reliever.
Yeah,
and I said to myself right there, I said, Philly's going to win this.
Yeah, and to piggyback what you said, Damon. Me and my dad were watching the game yesterday with Fransky in LA, and Larry was like livid about that because he was like there's like only like a limitation of like mound visits, and it was like, is this like a mound visit or this was like an injury? And I kind of feel like it's a little bit of both. It was an injury and BS.
No, definitely. It definitely was a little bit of both, but I think it was more the bladder, the BS, right?
Yeah.
So now they get him, and I said they're going to get him, and sure enough, man. And listen, Gene Segura. I know people want to turn and all that. That may cost you a lot of money, TK. Mm-hmm. I'm not giving up on this guy. I know he's had turmoil in the past, but for whatever reason, it's clicked here. And sure enough, man, he's the guy you want in that position, and he's the guy you have just as much confidence as it get that. And he just, like he said, I listened to his post game. He said, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I wasn't going up there looking for anything. I just took what they gave me, and man, did he.
I'll tell you this, to even talk about the injury to the pitcher and then to Secor, the idea. So the pitcher had arm fatigue a couple of weeks prior. And he's like, well, the commentator, who were both vanilla.
Oh, my goodness.
And so they were both like, well, okay, I guess you would. Serious,
we could have done a better job.
Oh, yeah. I could have
1,000%.
I could have done a better job half hitting the ass. So the idea, the guy was like, well, I guess you should have arm fatigue if you throw 101, 102 miles an hour. I'm like, yeah, okay, thank you, Captain Obvious. Right. Anyhow, and then Al brought up an excellent point. He blamed a lot of that on the manager. This guy threw almost 30 pitches as a reliever coming off an injury.
Yeah.
And you had and they did it the most bonehead way. He's getting in trouble, no help up in the bullpen. He was a
setup man, Joe.
Right. No, that was your closer. Closer.
I take that back. He was your closer.
Yeah.
But you also had him used as a setup yesterday.
Yeah. He tried to get 5 outs.
Yeah.
So, he tried to put the game away. But here's the thing. When he started to get in trouble, there was no bullpen action. It only was when the bases were loaded that all of a sudden you get double barrel action going. It's already too late, dude. The boat is sinking.
Yeah, it is.
Like, you can't bail the water out fast enough at this point.
Frank Finnegan checking in on the phone lines. What's up, Frank?
Good morning, fellas.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Did something happen yesterday?
Not much. Not much,
really.
Yeah?
Not much.
It's been quiet on the Philly sports front recently.
Yeah.
He didn't miss much.
We were on the final last night, and you can tell Tony La Russa is not coaching this team.
Could you really? I didn't notice.
Because La Russa would have pulled that guy after he missed with the second fastball.
Yeah.
We would absolutely pulled him out.
He would have pulled him in the middle.
He had no clue where the strike zone was.
As the ball was reaching the pitcher.
Yeah, leaving it
out. Hold up. Stop the ball. Get him out.
And as bad as the commentators were, they actually called every time that he threw a fastball. He's like, he can't command the fastball. Really? No shit, Sherlock. It's a ball every time. Thank you for that commentary.
Joe and Frank, it wasn't just he was way off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, he was dangerously off.
Yeah, clearly without ask Alec Baum. But here's my point about
Baum made 103 mile an hour fastball.
Dude, that was crazy.
Clapping.
Joe, that's crazy.
Yeah. That was a riot. That was funny. It was funny to see him. And then after, did you see the interview with him after the game? The guy said that the girl asked him, have you ever been happy to be hit by 103 fastball? He says, never before today.
Yeah.
Look, sometimes you just take it for the team and go, I'm good. It's okay.
Yeah.
But to get back,
Rose used to do that all the time.
Yeah.
Rose used to do that all the time.
To lean in.
He used to turn his side right into the ball, and then he'd
Utley did it every now and then.
I brought that up last night, is that Utley did it during the 07 run. I'm not 07, 08 in the NLCS. He basically leaned in on a pitch, and the guy hit him in the elbow, and he basically walked up to the first baseline clapping and smiling. And I'm like, because Utley's like, thank you. Like, you think you did yourself a favor? Look behind me.
I think Utley at one point, two straight years, he led the league in getting hit by pitch.
Yes,
he did.
Yes,
he wouldn't give up that plate. He wouldn't give up the plate, and the pitchers hated him for it.
He leaned over on it, and he would have that stride where he could make it look unassuming at the time, and that's why umpires couldn't say, "No, you leaned in." No, are you sure? But to get back to your Segura point, Damon, is that out of the guys like Reese that that are coming up for contract and possibly, I'd rather have Segura back. And how great was it that this guy was one of the longest tenured drought players, and he got had the kind of game he had yesterday.
Almost 1,300 games.
I can't agree with that, and I'll tell you why, Joe. I mean, I love Segura. I think he's remade himself after all his bad boy image. But one thing Segura doesn't do with this team is fit with the youth. And if you're going to give that guy a contract, he's going to want 3 or 4 years, and he's already mid-30s.
Yeah, but
I would think that would be a bad move.
What if the money was right? What if the money was right and you had him as a clubhouse piece and a bench piece to kind of put in defensive situations?
If we're going to do that, I wouldn't give him more than 2 years. And he's not going to settle for 2 years.
Well, we don't know.
We don't.
Here's the thing,
I'm more worried about the money than the years.
Because sometimes, and I've never been a GM in my life, but if I'm looking at it saying, listen, these guys know, you know this, Joe, you know this, Jay. These guys know they can kind of, you can't foresee, a person's body, but you can tell what type of conditioning they're in, how they take care of their bodies, right? They're there with them. So if I'm looking at all of that and he's productive, I can't just turn my nose and say, let me go give somebody less money. I'm not going to get the same production. We have to take that into account.
Gotta remember, we had Didi Gregorius on this team, and the production and lack thereof was ridiculous. And the amount of money that we paid him for that lack of production. So if I'm putting Gene on this team to kind of replace and improve what Didi kind of brought to this team, I will take. Look, like I said, the money is the thing.
You could do a 2-year, 1 year.
Well,
everybody does a 1 year.
I get that, but my feeling is it's the money that worries me, because we're going to still be kind of hanging on that luxury tax. So money for any contract going forward is going to matter.
No, it is going to matter. But
would you guys agree that the Phillies need another starter?
Pitcher?
Yes.
Don't.
That's not on the top of my list.
It's not. Yeah.
There's a reason. You got those young guys that's coming up.
Yeah.
That's why that's
one.
Not on the top of my
not
list.
two.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I'm not. That's not. I would say that they need a leadoff batter. And maybe Marsh. We don't know. Everyone's talking Turner. Listen, he's a great player without a doubt. But now you're talking. That's some money, man. You're talking.
As much as I like Turner, I want Bogarts.
Yeah, I thought about that, but here's the problem with Bogarts is that he's going to demand a lot heavier price tag than money. Turner would. Yeah.
Again, money.
Because he's 2 years younger. You're going to get Bogarts at 28 years old.
No, I agree with that. I understand where your logic is, but my feeling is, that being said, you get him on a longer contract, which you will, but you're going to have to put out more money too, because he's going to feel like, hey, I need this.
So bringing it back to where we are currently, because we're talking about. So to me, what happens in these situations, and this is a fascinating conversation, because you have to look at how far they go. Let's go on the James just said, and I agree with them. Nola goes out, balls out. They build on that momentum. They win the series today, right? Tonight. Now you have Atlanta. That's your measuring stick. They're the best. Mm-hmm. They're the champs. We'll talk about that when we cross that bridge, whether or not they can beat them. That's right. I don't want to bring in that mojo, but
don't bring the cart before the horse.
But what that does is determines what you're going to do with this team moving forward.
Yeah.
So that's a great position to be in, win, lose, and draw, right? So now you say, okay, do we bring back a Segura? Do we re-sign Reese? If we do, how much? If not, what can we get for Reese?
Here's the thing with Reese. He's on his last year of arbitration. So the thing with Reese is that they will sign him. Now, the Phillies are going to lowball him, and Reese is going to think he needs all this money. And the arbitrator's going to probably side closer to Reese than they are the Phillies, because they typically do that anyhow.
Yeah, you're looking at $20 million.
Well, no, he's going to ask for 20. The arbitrator, I feel like, is going to probably do 15 or 17. But here's my feeling.
All the arbitrator does is decide between what management's number is and what the player's number is.
And
he doesn't negotiate in the middle. The manager management puts their number up, the player puts their number up, they make their arguments, and he decides. And it always comes out the player's side.
He can ask the player if that's what he wants, because before the arbitrator makes the decision, if say Reese wanted $30 million, right? That's absurd. But the arbitrator is not going to go, oh yeah, I sided with the player for $30 million. He's going to go, are you sure? And if Reese says yeah, then he's going to go, well, I side with the Phillies. Because he's going to say you're being ridiculous. So that's why that arbitrator makes it a little bit of a wrinkle in the situation. But regardless, I feel like Reese will not be on this team at the end of next season. He might be there. He might be there by the trade deadline, but
I don't think he's going to be there at the beginning of the season.
Well,
I think the Phillies are going to trade him
during the winter meeting
and get a third starter.
You think?
Bring the kids up and let them pitch the bottom of the starting order.
Remember, arbitration happens after free agency, so they have to make a lot of decisions.
He's not a free agent.
I know that, but they have to allot certain money for the arbitration, so they're going to have money locked up.
There's no pitchers in free agency I want that we can afford.
I agree.
I pitcher's not at the top of my list, man.
It's that other bat. It's that leadoff hitter.
That's why I want Bogart. I want to put the center fielder in the leadoff spot, because that kid's been hitting 290 since he got here. He's got the speed.
What a job that Dabrowski did. This is a kid.
They changed the stance, man.
This is the kid that was a throwaway from the Angels because of the depth, because of Mike Trout burying this guy on the depth chart. And Dabrowski brings this kid in with the expectations so low, and Coach Long has just made this kid a star.
But Joe, even more. He said it before he made the trade. He's like, we can change him. We know what to do.
We can fix it.
He told the Angels that.
Yeah.
They're like,
well, he made what they did was they made his swing simple. The Angels were trying to tinker too much with him and trying to get him to do things that he wasn't capable of. And Dombrowski said that. They said he said they're tinkering with this kid's swing too much.
Yeah.
And they just dumbed it down, and the kid he's been really good. If he can hit 275, 280, you got your leadoff hitter.
Hoskins swing.
Well, I mean,
he figured something out.
Yeah.
Hoskins,
well,
he was in the oh my God.
My feeling too is with the hitting coach in Long. Look at what he's done with Bryson Stott. Is that you talk about simplifying things? Bryson had, a little bit of trepidation when it came down to his power. And Kevin Long was like, listen, you're a strong young man. Just, spread, widen your stride and let your body and your arms do the rest. Don't step into it. Let your body take the ball out. He's like, I'm not strong enough. Every time
he swings like Utley.
Yes.
Swings like Utley now.
Every time he shortens his swing, he hits the ball out of the ballpark. And I'm sure Coach Long is like, so I thought you said you weren't strong enough. You just did that. You just did the stride we talked about. You said you were worried about the stride. That looked like it was fine. Yeah. I mean, that hit 400, so I think we're fine. But, my feeling is going forward with this series and even the possibilities of Atlanta, and I'm with you, Dame. I don't want to put the cart too far in front of the horse.
Yeah, Freddie Burns said, I can't believe we are one win away from the NLDS.
Yeah.
And
that's hard to.
I know, James.
Fellas. That's why you were like, wow. All that was compensated.
A while, man.
I will do
11 years of no postseason baseball and the win. And that, man,
there's a lot of Cinderella teams.
I was listening to somebody this morning because I have nothing else to do, but I don't want to mention their name because but complainers. I'm saying to myself, listen, this team hasn't been in the playoffs in 11 years, man. 11 freaking years, and you look back, and I try. I'm like, Dad, Clintac and those dudes really did damage, and now
destroyed it.
Yeah, and listen, for those guys that come in and get the the minor league system back on track and get us in this position and to win that game in the fashion they did, you got to celebrate that. But I have a question for you guys, man, and no one's talking about it. We all know that Harper's been struggling, minor league struggling, unfortunately. And I know he has the old, playoff.
I got the newest Phillies fan in my lap right now. My granddaughter's sitting with me.
Hey,
very nice.
Yeah, man.
She's looking at you on the screen. We can see you on the screen, but I'm on the phone.
All right, tell us. We say, hey, man, welcome. So, is it the elbow? Is it the elbow finally coming up? I mean, because it's apparently supposed to have surgery at the end of the season.
Talking about Bryce.
Yeah. Do you think the elbow's affecting his swing and affecting his hitting?
It's interesting because
messing with his timing. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, he's over swinging
all day long.
He's and you could break it down for the last 2 or 3 weeks. He's been over swinging.
When you can't rely on your natural mechanics, you tend to push.
Yeah,
that's what he's doing. He's
pushing
too hard.
I didn't put it in those words, CK, but exactly what I was thinking. You said it best. Because you're overcompensating. He's trying to do too much. And I think that elbow, man, I don't know.
Well, it's in your head. Like, even if the pain's not there, the injury is.
Right.
You may not be in pain, but okay, think about it. If we all have a bad knee or a bad back or a bad ankle or bad wrist or whatever, we may not be hurting, but we know about it. We're aware of it. So
the anticipation of pain lingers in the back of your head longer than the pain actually.
Or awareness of, I better not do this or I could really hurt myself. And that's, I think, where Bryce is right now. Is he's at a point where he's like, okay, I know that I can do this without having to deal with surgery and I'm not in pain. However, I got to make up for a lot of lost time. No, you don't. You're Bryce Harper. You don't have to make up for anything. Just play your game. You're the MVP for a reason. The reigning MVP.
And the other thing, too, I look at it is that maybe Harper's still probably not necessarily himself, I think would be the right word to describe it.
It's a lot of time.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, I think it's like when he swings, I think he's probably dealing with that ongoing try to swing at it and probably hurting his arm. Probably
that's what I was wondering, and I'm listening to it, and no one's bringing it up, and I'm like, because when you and baseball is a unique game, you guys know, man. It's incredible, but it's incredible to watch. But I think it's incredible to play, and I watch these guys. They do the same routine after every pitch, and
sometimes that annoys the hell out of people, but it does,
But it's a part of
it's part of the game.
Yeah, it's what they do. So, whatever. But what TK said could be in the back of his mind. And also the fact that it's either consciously or subconsciously, he's like thinking, listen, they brought me here to be in this position, and now I have to live up to that.
Yeah. He has his own bar that he set, and he has to live up to it. And something that was said that I think is a little lost in translation a little bit, and that is Bryce, whether he's hurt or not, or in pain or not, he's not going to take himself out of the game.
No,
he's just not.
Yeah, he's going
to. I mean, you're going to have to put a gun to his head and say, "Look, you can't play."
No, and I'm not suggesting sitting him down. Any of that.
No,
I'm just trying to if he could just. I know he's a home run machine.
Down. He just needs to relax.
Yeah, now he did that. Obviously that walk he got yesterday. That was huge.
Yeah,
right?
It was.
That was huge. So maybe Joe, that's a step into the right direction going into tonight. Because I know these guys. I mean, we're talking about it. Obviously, they're talking about it. It's on their mind and looking at tape, the whole shebang. So, I expect them to get better, man. What do you guys think about tonight? What are our chances? Who's Nola? I got it in my paper in front of me. Nola going up against
Marcellus or
Michaelis.
Michaelis. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I kind of surprised me a little bit is that since the Cardinals are desperate, did he put in Wainwright? I mean,
no.
No.
I see. Here's the thing. I think Wainwright is the bullet in the chamber that they hold on to in case Michaelis gets in trouble.
Oh,
because this is do or die.
Yeah.
So you got to think for Wainwright. If this is the end, he'd rather be out on the mound. So they're going to save that bullet in the chamber, and they're not going to start him. But they may. If this guy struggles tonight, you can bet he's going to have a short leash.
Before we go, man, let's get Wheeler his props, man.
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
He balls.
Sixth inning, bases loaded, no outs at the time.
Yeah.
Got out of it.
I was sitting here patiently waiting, letting you guys do your thing before I brought up Wheeler.
Yeah, man. Like that dude, man. And listen, he just got back 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Roughly,
This lineup was prime, though. This Cardinals lineup was primed for him.
Yeah.
It just felt like they couldn't touch him.
Nah, man.
1 for 7 with Goldschmidt and Arenado.
I think the one thing I liked about what Zach Wheeler did yesterday was, like, that was back to Zach Wheeler of the old. I think that's the big thing I took out of it is that, like, when he came out yesterday, like, nothing fazed him. He looked like he was back to Zach Wheeler, like how he was like last year and obviously this year too.
We brought it up before when he went on that IL. We had said, okay, yeah, maybe he's hurt, okay, but maybe they're just saving that horse for the playoffs.
Yeah, I remember you said that.
And that yesterday was kind of proof that he's refreshed.
Yeah, man.
And that's what you want now. You play for October. October matters in October. And like
anything can happen.
Wheeler proved to me yesterday. I know it's big shoes and it's a big statement, and I don't want it to be misled because he is who he is, but it felt almost Roy Halladay-esque. Like he was in control of the game. No matter what was happening, he was in control of the game. And that was just amazing to me that he controlled the game as well and as productively as he did.
Yeah, that's the thing I looked at it too. Is that it was like a Roy Halladay kind of game, like no runs and like under 7 innings, and also just a couple hits here and there. But I think that's what you want to see out of Wheeler. I think that's exactly how you make noise in the postseason. Like you got to have your pitchers go 7 strong, or maybe more.
You know, like I remember when Doc would get into trouble.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah.
He would slow himself down on the mound.
Right.
And slow the pace down. And regardless of what stress was on the base paths, he always said, I'm better than what's in front of me.
Yeah.
Like, and I just have to execute my pitches. And he always pretty much did. And, you know, the reason why I don't like to always put those comparisons, because Wheeler is his own guy. Like, he's his own kind of pitcher. Doc was his own guy. Steve Carlton was his own guy. Like, those guys were great pitchers in the moments in which they needed to be great pitchers. My hope is tonight, I think Aaron Nola, we always talk about Nola's September woes. He's never been in October.
Sean Kilrain, can you put that back up?
Yep.
Okay. It says Aaron Nola's pitching tomorrow?
No.
Today.
Oh,
He's
okay.
pitched today.
But should he? Okay, my bad.
No.
Okay.
Because you want to go, you want to get done.
Yeah.
You don't want to put, why do you want to put any amount of confidence in the Cardinals' mind?
Oh, okay.
You throw your 2 best pitchers out there
Yeah.
in
a
first to 2 win series.
Yeah.
When you won the first game, you put your foot on their throat and stop.
Yeah.
I mean, Al said it best. I mean, it was very visual, but it's like with Molina and Pujols and Wainwright, it's Old Yeller. You got to take him out in the back and shoot the dog.
Yeah, it's
Put him down.
it's a simple premise. If you were to do that, you're preparing to lose.
Yes.
You know, and in professional sports, you don't prepare to lose.
You always try to prepare to win and move on. And that's where this winning matters now more than it ever did. I mean, we talked about 1 game away from the NLDS.
Frank is back. He got disconnected there.
But we're also, keep in mind, we're also 5 games away 5 wins away, I should say, from the NLCS.
Turn your radio down. I'm getting feedback in the background.
Well, also too, give Rob Thompson credit. He switched up the lineup a little bit. He put
there we go.
Rice in the cleanup.
Yeah,
and then he put JT at third. I think JT was third, batting third. Was he batting third? No, I know Bryce was in the cleanup.
Yeah,
and he moved. Did he move JT down?
He moved JT down.
He moved him down to like the 7th, right?
No, it was like 5th or 6th.
Fifth or 6th. And then he had Bohm.
Because it was JT, then Castellanos,
and then Bohm was 7th. Yeah. So he did some things yesterday, man.
Yeah.
I like Rob Thompson, man. You never know if they're winning or losing with that guy.
He's even keel.
Even keel.
He is the epitome of even keel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got to get what's his name out of the 3-hole or 2-hole. You can't have him at the top of the lineup anymore.
Who? Schwarber? The leader?
No. First baseman. I can't remember his name. Yeah, Hoskins. You got to get Hoskins out of the top of the lineup. He's killing you. He's absolutely killing you.
Listen. I think we can all agree that the top 3 in this lineup really needs to be addressed in the offseason because Schwarber's not a leadoff guy, and Reese is not a number 2.
Who do you put in the 2-hole then? What person
start maybe
or back
Xander Bogart.
I mean, you bump Segura up, put him in the 2-hole, and then what do you do? Drop Hoskins to the 7?
I don't know.
Hoskins is not going to be here next year,
right? But in the interim for now, like if you drop him to the 7th, at least you give him protection.
For today, I would put Segura too.
Yeah.
Put Segura too.
That's what I was thinking. If you want Hoskins out of there, I wouldn't mind seeing Segura in that 2 spot for the rest of the
I like Segura where he is. I'm going to tell you why. If you look at this lineup, it's a unique lineup. When Hoskins is on, I expect him to get some hits today. When he's on, he definitely helps the lineup. Would you agree, Joe?
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
So now,
30 and 30.
So you have that top of the lineup. You have Harper now in the cleanup, and then you have Castellanos. Like Segura takes care of that bottom half of that lineup on so many levels, right? He's just a security blanket because you're going to possibly bring something in. So I get you guys, and you're not wrong. I'm not just saying like just for the sake of how everything plays out with this lineup. I rather trust Segura in the 7th than Reese in the 7th spot.
I'm going to say this, and this is like
and I like Reese. You guys know I'm a Reese.
You would consider this a hot take, but for me, I'm just going to go out on this limb. I feel like today is going to be Nick Castellanos coming out party because I feel like he is being like similar to Harper, where he's in his own way.
Yeah.
If he gets out, and keep in mind, he played in St. Louis. He didn't play in St. Louis, but he played St. Louis a lot when he was at Cincinnati. So you have to keep in mind, he's familiar with those sight lines.
Yeah.
And now, and I brought this up yesterday, those first 8 innings, I feel like were kind of a little bit of an aberration onto the time of day that the game was played. Because there was shadows, there was light issues. Now we're playing a night game.
Because you know what?
Now all that's gone.
Speaking of which, I think he catches that.
It's supposed to be cold tonight there.
Yeah, and I think Castellanos catches that ball in the bottom of the 9th because he couldn't see it.
Yeah,
he misjudged it.
That's what I'm trying
to.
That's what I'm trying to say. A lot of that.
He was late on that. I'm like, he would have got that.
And a lot of Reese had a lot of those too. And so
horrible. That's
listen. I'm just saying it's the night game, cold or not. Look, you hit it 450 feet. It makes no difference if it's 20 degrees or 50 degrees or 80 degrees.
Yeah.
It's going to go out of the ballpark.
I like for Harper to bang 1, if not 2.
Oh, that would be so nice.
I don't know why when Joey said Castellanos, I'm like, you know what? I think Harper might come out tonight and just like bang 1.
I mean, think about it. Pressure's off too. You got 1 win under your belt.
Play loose.
And it's not like you got Joe Schmo on the mound. You got Nola going tonight. So
with 5 days rest.
With 5 days rest, which is huge. I mean, think about it. All the pressure's off
Yeah,
your
we
bats
broke
right
the seal.
now.
The seal's broken.
Yeah,
we can go get loose and ball out.
And they burned up their bullpen yesterday.
Yeah, they did. And then talk about these bats carrying confidence in after a 6-run, ninth. We could be in for a real treat tonight.
I would like to take a minute and give somebody here praise that I don't normally do.
Franklin
Finnegan.
He Franklin'd you, Frank.
Yeah. You said in the beginning of the season, you threw out numbers.
Yep.
You checked every box. Every single
the only box I didn't check is I thought they'd win 90 games.
Okay.
3 games away.
It's fine. We can accept it though. We're in the playoffs. We can pardon you for that.
3 games for the playoffs.
But those numbers with the NOLA and the home runs and the RBIs and the saves, all those boxes were checked.
And how about NOLA coming up in October?
Yes.
And what did I say? What did I say 4 weeks ago?
About NOLA doing better in September?
Nope.
Oh,
I said the Phillies are going to be in the World Series.
Let's not put the cart before the horse, Frank.
I'm telling you.
You know what?
We're still in the turnpike.
Put the horse in the cart and roll it down the hill. Let's go.
4 exits away. This
isn't wishful thinking. This isn't dream casting. I think the Phillies are going to catch people sleeping, and their bats can make up for a lot of things. They got all those runs yesterday and didn't hit one long ball. If you listen to the announcers, the hardest ball hit out of the infield last night, 88 miles an hour.
But the wind knocked some of it down.
And if the Phillies start doing that, I'm sorry, they're going to win. I didn't say they were going to win the World Series. I said they were going to be in the World Series.
I'll still be impressed if they're in the World Series.
I'll be impressed if they win this series. How about that?
Yeah. Well, I'm impressed. I'm impressed that they made the playoffs because they buried the ghost of the last 3 Septembers.
Man,
as far as so did NOLA.
And
so did NOLA. Good stuff, yeah.
And that's the thing. There is a bit of that unknown because you don't know what NOLA brings in October. I mean, we've seen pitchers that have struggled in September or struggled in other months. Like when October comes, it's shutdown city, and that could be NOLA. We don't know. We haven't seen it yet.
Well, here's what we know
game
about
against
NOLA.
Atlanta.
When he gets 5 days rest, his ERA is 1 run a game lower.
Yeah, the game against Atlanta, and then the game against Houston to put us in.
Yes.
To clinch.
Yeah.
So.
And that was in October.
Yeah, that was October. And Houston.
That was a gem that he.
Yeah, and the Braves game was September, which he kind of, which was nice. So
if that's the setup for what's to come in October,
I usually expect a rough in and out of him, but I'm hoping tonight they get some runs on the board early for him.
And
the only game in September he got torched. He pitched on 4 games rest.
Yes,
it's the only game It's the only game in September he got torched.
True.
Was that the one in the West Coast
when they were all bunched up?
Diamondback, Arizona.
Yeah. It was they were bunched up with all those games.
Yeah,
had to squeeze them in.
Yeah,
he had to go with 4 days rest, and he got lit up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have to applaud you though, Frank, because you said those specific numbers, and I've been keeping track with them pretty much throughout the season because I said,
just because he wanted to crush you, but then he could,
and now I can't, so I have to follow my sword.
The only one I don't know for sure is blown saves. I can't find that stat.
It's not. So the Phillies had, I think it was 26
last year.
26 last year. They're under 20 this year.
Yeah. And the other thing is the Cardinals.
They needed 9 less.
Okay, but even if they're at like 18 and they're not at 9,
right?
Yeah, that
was my number. My point was they couldn't blow saves, and they didn't this year.
Right, and whether or not they hit that 9 right on the ball or they got as closest to it as possible, they may you were absolutely right that is a key contributor to whether you're successful or not. Now, I'm still of the opinion that when and someone brought this up too, actually, Howard Eskin brought this up, and I don't always agree with Howard's point of view, but he said Schwarber had 46 home runs, the NL home run king, by the way. for this season, but he had less. He did not have 100 RBIs. That's the managerial fault, because if he's not in the leadoff, that guy has 140 RBIs easy.
So
easy.
So here's the thing with that, and I've often people criticize Rob Thompson about that, and understand the situation. You guys aren't right. He can't. Moving forward, no, he can't be leadoff. But as far as playoffs, at this point, you have to leave him that.
Yes, I get that.
But he kept saying he feels comfortable in that position. Well, sometimes I've learned in life you got to be uncomfortable to become better, right?
Yep.
So you have to figure out Rob Thompson's position. He was, Girardi gets fired. He's put into this interim position. He wants to make sure the locker room and everybody's steady because he wants to get these guys to the finish line. So, but moving forward, that conversation will be brought up. They know they can't have him there because he may be the cleanup. He may be the fifth. He may be the third. He may be the sixth. I don't know. But moving forward, I agree. He can't be, but for right now, he has to be.
Yeah, right. I mean, you're not going to, you got to be uncomfortable in order to get better, but you don't need to start that in the playoff.
Right.
Nah,
well, let's not try and reinvent the wheel. Like
not right now.
No.
Yeah, next season you can't. Have
nah. And then
let me
you prep him for next season because they'll get comfortable.
Is Robbie the manager of the year?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, got to be in the discussion. Got to be.
I mean, although he turned his team around completely.
And I'm going to bring up another manager, and this is kind of hits home to me and Tom. The Toronto Blue Jays manager. You have Rob Thompson, who was the interim manager that took it's one of the fewest teams. What did I see on Twitter the other day? One of 5 managers in MLB history to take his team to the playoffs mid-season after being 7 games over 500. He's one of 5 managers to do
7
it.
7 games under.
7 games over. Over. Wow. So, that the idea that, with the guy from Toronto, the manager from Toronto, there's ties that he has to me and Tom. His brother is the baseball coach for the Newman Pirates, the Newman Goretti Pirates, who are a really good baseball team. And
is that a real thing?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Frank, don't start. I control whether or not you're on the show. Don't start with your Roman bullshit today.
So, can you tell the vitriol?
little Catholic League.
But
frivolity.
But that when I heard that, I was like, really? And so the Toronto manager, along with Rob Thompson, are the only interim managers to take their teams to the playoffs, and no one expected either to be there.
Yeah.
And
nobody definitely expected the Phillies to be there.
And not Toronto either.
We're here now. We're Seattle.
Yeah.
Right.
They were down to Seattle, man. 27 years?
21 years.
21? My God, that's a long time, man.
But J-Rod is no joke.
Real quick question, because I had this conversation with my brother the other day. Ken Griffey made it to the playoffs with Seattle, right? He and Alex Rodriguez.
Yes.
I think Griffey did, but I don't know if A-Rod was on that team.
Because I know A-Rod was younger, came in.
Yeah, I think he was younger.
Griffey was on there with his dad. That's
yes.
the part he goes back.
He was for 1 year.
For 1 year.
They played together.
But he did make the playoffs as a Mariner, right?
He did. I want to say it was the NLDS.
Weren't they the only father-son duo to both hit homers in the same game?
Yes.
I believe so, yeah.
I believe so.
But, I mean, this is the thing is, with the Phillies, 140-year franchise length, and they've only been in the playoffs 15 times.
I was going to say 16, but yeah, 15, yeah.
So, I mean...
it's always been, if you look back, and I do this, I'm a Philly stat nut. When you look back at the Phillies' history,
I know you're going to go
all through the late 20s, the 30s, and the 40s, the Phillies led the league in batting average.
Yep.
Like 11 times. But their pitching was always like, their ERA was always like 9 or 11. I mean, they were horrible, horrible pitchers. They had great bats, but no pitching.
And then Frank, when Carlton comes over, I was a kid. You remember this too. He was great, but the team was bad.
Well, it's interesting because I did.
Like when he first got here, he was great, right, Frank?
Oh my God, 27 wins on a 52-win team.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Out of my 20-some year tenure as a college student, I did a paper on the 1952
Whiz Kids.
50, and
1950.
50. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so the amazing stats that team put up was it's just astonishing because you can compare it to now, and you go, God, if they were around now, they would still be killing it. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, and then for me and Frank and Big Joe in the late 70s, they were battling before they get Rose. They battling with the Dodgers. They couldn't get over the hump.
Yeah, they couldn't get over the hump. They didn't have a winner on the team.
And the Royals were in the way too.
Well, now the Royals were doing the same thing the Phillies were doing. They couldn't get over the hump past the Yankees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
both meet
it was the same thing. We couldn't get past the Dodgers, and we couldn't get past the Yankees.
Nope.
And believe me, I was at the Black Friday game. It was a horrible loss.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I was at a lot of those playoff games back then.
Is that the one where is Black Friday the one where Boas says what's the name was out?
Oh yeah. Oh no, Garvey was out. Garvey was out and Lopes was out at first.
And Lopes was out at first, yeah. Bo will take that to his
Garvey never touched the plate in that game. He never ever touched the plate.
He still brings it up.
No, yeah, he was like, you never.
You don't even have to like bring up the whole moment. Yeah. You just poke the bear a little, and he'll bring it. No.
You know this equivalent to the Flyers versus Edmonton.
Oh my God!
And 80, all the teams go to the championship.
Yep.
And that goal,
Leon Steckel.
I mean, the Islanders. Excuse me. I kept saying Islanders. The Islanders. God.
Can you tell it sticks in James's crawl? It wasn't even thought of by that point. It's like
I hear it all the time. I'll be here all week.
Yeah, it was like, you know, because it kind of talks about this. You know, we're actually kind of in it now. For me as a kid in 1980, man, it was like, yo, this is. I remember the Eagles beating the Cowboys. I remember going outside with my friends and we all cheering and people were riding down Walnut Street blowing their horns. And it was like, and then, you know, the spring hits and the Flyers in the finals and the Sixers in the finals. And neither one of them wins. All three teams lose. And then the October of 80, the Phillies get back in the World Series and we win.
I thought
this would be forever. And then the Phillies go back in 83, lose to Baltimore. But that's for another day.
I called the cuz this week, and I sat him down, and I put him in a little bit of a vision of things.
Oh yeah, you're talking about the Roaring 20s, yeah.
Yeah, and I said, let me just paint a picture for you, cuz in like a couple days or a week so time, this city is going to be not just buzzing, but literally on fire with Philadelphia sports passion, because if the Phillies getting possibly to the NLDS with Atlanta, you have the Eagles that could possibly be undefeated going into Dallas week.
Where you at?
You have the Philadelphia 76ers kicking off their season against Boston. This town is on the cusp.
And the Flyers play hockey.
And the Flyers are.
Why do you have to be the wet blanket?
And the Flyers play hockey.
Why do you have to be the wet blanket? Do you trying to get me killed?
Are the Phantoms still playing?
My cornflakes are all wet now.
Yeah, they wear orange.
Yeah, I'm just checking.
They wear orange.
See their schedule.
I wish the Phantoms were still here, going to admit.
I know, right?
It pisses me off that the Flyers have been playing like crap the last few years. I want the Roaring 20s. I want all four of them to be good.
No, that's the
whole 2010 to happen.
Well, to experience that, it's like, man, you know, and then even the Sixers win in '83, and the Phillies go back to the World Series.
All I can say is, if this is the Roaring 20s, the Marks household is going to be very, very busy.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, you think? You're going to have a lot of guests.
Frank, real quick, what happened at that Orioles series? You remember '83? I know we had Joe Morgan was on the team.
Yeah, I remember. I remember what happened.
The pitching was better, right?
Dempsey happened in that Orioles series. Their catcher. The guy couldn't hit 250 the whole season. He comes to play the Phillies, and I think he hit like 400 in the series.
Yeah, because we lost 4-1, something like that.
Unbelievable.
Well, they lose like 4-1.
And Eddie Murray.
Eddie Murray.
Him and Eddie Murray wore us out.
All right. Well, look,
the Phillies were kind of done.
They were. Yeah, Morgan was on the end, and Rose was on the end. They were
had
done.
Perez. They had Perez, and they had Rose, and I mean, those guys
had the old Cincinnati Reds team. Yeah.
You know what they were. You know what they were. You look at Yachty Molina and Pujols. That's exactly what the Reds were.
Yeah, they were done. They lost. Did they get swept? It was a 4-1. I can't remember.
Nah, 4-1.
It was 4-1. Yeah,
game 1-0. They won the first game on a Mike Schmidt home run.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that. Wow. Yeah.
Jim Palmer was on that team, right?
Yeah.
He was. Wow.
Yeah, Jim Palmer was. He was a 15-game winner that year.
Yeah,
he was pitching good.
They were pretty good, the Orioles back then.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were a good team.
All right. Well, there's a football team in this town that's
undefeated.
We're all hoping.
Yeah. You don't say.
We're all hoping for a Phillies win tonight, but tomorrow, birds travel out to Arizona where they don't fare well.
No.
And I
0-5 in the last 5 trips.
If this team didn't seem as prepared as they were, I'd call this a trap game. But Sirianni really seems to have a way of programming these guys to just take things one step at a time.
You know, the one thing I gotta respect about Jalen Hurts too is like every time when there's like close games and stuff, he looks like he's in a different level. He's like the Joe Montana, like nothing phases him. He's like, because like he looks like he's like ready to go to work. He's like brushing his shoulder off, like, okay, I got sacked a couple of times here and there. But I remember there was a shot of him on the sidelines, and it's like you don't want to get on his bad side.
You know, and you know what person has that look? Only the greatest quarterback of all time.
Yeah.
You ever pan over to the sidelines to see Brady if he had a rough series, he's going to come out and jam it down your throat.
Right.
Yeah. And you know what? Jalen, I'm not saying he's anywhere near that. I'm just saying.
No, but I'm just saying that
has that same look to him.
Yeah. That commonality of
I'm looking at the top of the season, Joe. I said I needed him to get the ball out. You guys heard me say that a million times, times 10.
Me too.
So I'm seeing that. I'm in a position now. I'm ready to. I'm not saying give him the contract yet. I'd rather for the season to play out, TK. I'd rather for him to see. I'd like to see where he takes the team before you go to, because if it works in his favor, James, let's say he leads us to at least the NFC, championship game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the deal has to get done. Right?
Yeah.
The deal has to get done. So I don't want to interrupt what he's doing right now with the contract talk. Let's let it play out.
He's playing at a contract level.
Oh no, without a doubt. It's
I think his agent has said as much, Sam.
Frank, what was your biggest gripe about Hurts?
Making the out passes, and he's shut me up this season so far.
I was going to say, because I like Joey. I watch for like some of the guys will make points on this show, and I'll look and they'll be like, oh yeah, he's right, and I'm like, the last few games, I'm like, man, Hurts starting to make Frank a liar.
Yeah, well, it wasn't that he was making me a liar. It was that I just hadn't seen it yet. I hadn't seen him be able to make that lead pass, and he is doing it. And he's nobody's happier than I am.
What a monster all season!
I just know what it's gonna mean come the spring next year, and it's draft time. The Eagles right now are sitting with the number 2 overall draft pick.
That's friggin' insane.
Why? Because of
New Orleans.
Because New Orleans is crapping the bed. Now I don't think it's going to finish that way. But if they finish, if New Orleans finishes, say, and they have a top 5 pick at the end of the season, the Eagles aren't going to need a quarterback.
Nope.
So, and there's a lot of really good quarterbacks coming out. They're going to get a king's ransom for that pick. They're going to wind up with 3 first-round picks out of it.
And what you do, and I don't want to jump the gun because we just finished the first quarter of the season, but you get to a stud cornerback that you can groom that's young and hungry and out of one of those SEC programs. That's all you grab.
Well, I think they're going to wind up still with 2 first-round picks anyway, no matter how it works out.
And I need
I think they need the corner, and I think they need the edge rusher.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go next, Frank. Can
I go one step further and say instead of a corner, I want
safety.
Safety.
I'll take that. I'll take that.
I want a bloodthirsty hit you in the mouth,
doggone safety.
Yeah, I'm great.
Feel you kind of safety.
I'm great. So leads me to this guy. Word on the street is that he's going to be a head coach next year. You guys know who I'm referring to as Gannon because of what he's done with the defense. I'm still not quite in with him yet, although the defense has played some really good ball. Because I'm just starting to get to know to see what he's doing. Like you guys, last time I was on the show, I said that people kept saying he didn't have the pieces, but now he has the pieces, so he's utilizing the pieces. So I'm not going to sit up here and want to beat up the guy, but I'm still watching, I'm still observing, but I'm liking what I'm seeing, man. I'm liking, and then offensive coordinator, can't get his name. I just said his name. Offensive Steichen. I mean, these guys, man. I mean, I don't know, TK. We might lose both.
Possible.
If that, I mean, you guys know the deal. Team wins.
Well, it always happens when a team wins.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. That's
look at what happened in 2017.
Right. I mean, Andy Reid's guys are still,
Frank Wright.
Yeah, and Andy Reid's guys are still coaching in this league, and some of them are coaching with each other. But that happens. So maybe I am jumping the gun over. I mean, what do you do? Like, if we lose both our offensive defensive.
Well, can I just?
The only reason I say that real quick is Jalen Hurts, going back to him, this is the first time since high school that he's been in the same offense.
Well,
2 years in a row, and I want to keep.
Well, Sirianni's offense, Steichen's just calling it. Steichen's just taking the calling duties away from him, but it's Sirianni's offense.
I mean, this is how I'm going to put it. Like, I have said from the gate that I am a skeptic when it comes down to Jonathan Gannon. And for me, even though he's put some pretty good stuff together in the last couple of games, I look at the competition he's playing against.
Fair game.
Oh,
look, he's not playing against top level quarterbacks. That defense has not been really tested.
Well,
have they beaten the hell out of the teams in front of them? Absolutely. Okay. I will give you that. But you're not, look at the Detroit game. They played against the second best offensive line in the league, and you didn't see any sacks. And they got scored on. And that was the worst defensive game they've had out of the 4. And so for me, it's a matter of...
That trick I put on there was brand new.
And my feeling is this, is that when you have a team that brings that level of talent, can Jonathan Gannon, when you get punched in the face by talent, can you adapt with scheme? Jonathan Gannon hasn't proven that to me yet. Now, to go back to something that Tom had brought up a couple weeks ago, you asked everybody in the studio, trust, don't trust. And you had asked about Nick Sirianni. And I said, I don't trust. I'd like to change that to trust because of one thing he did. He said, the reason why I did what I did with the decisions for the 4th down, the reason why I did what I did with the play calling and the management of the games is I trust Jalen Hurts. When you have a coach that's willing to trust your guy, that means to me, it's not ego.
Yeah, you have to be able to trust your guy.
Right. But you and we all have seen these head coaches that have all this ego and are willing to let that ego get in the way of that trust, that relationship between you and that quarterback. We've seen it all too often. And for a guy like Nick Sirianni, who's young, who could get a big head because he made the playoffs in his first year, sits there and says, the reason why we do what we do is I trust Jalen. Let me repeat. I trust Jalen. He said it 3 times. I'm like saying to myself, I think he trusts Jalen. I'm just going out on a limb. I think he trusts Jalen. But to kind of chime into what Tom was saying about Jalen Hurts, look, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Jalen's been in quarterback rooms where he's learned, and he's picked up little bits and pieces from different guys. Now, we're not talking about backups to the New York Giants quarterbacks. We're talking about Tua. We're talking about Kyler Murray. We're talking about these guys that are starting franchise quarterbacks in the NFL. He was in those quarterback rooms with those guys, picking their brain, learning how to lead, learning how to dissect the game. This guy, from the reason why I jumped so fast on board with him is because I saw the hunger. We talk about the dog mentality. This guy has not only the dog mentality, he has the want to be great mentality. And that doesn't come along that often, especially not in this city.
Well, just a couple of things that you piggyback off. One, I agree with you in regards to him being hungry. And what I was asking for, just me as a fan of the game, obviously as a fan of the Eagles, I didn't think he wasn't a bad quarterback. I just needed to see getting the ball out because I think that would be towards his advantage. Sure. And because of that, he no longer questioning whether or not he has the arm strength. Right. Going back to Gannon with the defense, I often hear this, well, we haven't played anybody. We haven't played anybody.
I didn't say that. I said level. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go. You said
level of skilled players.
No. And I'm not. And so I'm not coming as an attack. Right. So it made me think about what you just said, right? So I look at it like this: if in fact, okay, we know every week we're not going to play. This is not like baseball or you're going to play Patrick Mahomes, right? 3 games, 3 times a year. We know that, right?
Right.
But in fact, that if you can, particularly considering what his defense was, start establishing that mentality. Right. I mean, I don't care if it gets me or TK, like tee off on us, right? And I think TK will get more touchdown passes than me, but that's for another day, Yeah. This arm strength back on the streets of South Philly. Used to hit you a couple of times.
Yes. Listen, I've been in the front of Tom when it comes down to running downfield. There's just some people you just don't stand on the tracks when the train's coming through. He's one of them. And so, but I want to touch on something like what you're saying, and this is why I want to quantify it. Yeah, is that when the Eagles got punched in the face, and God, I thought that whole crowd at South House was gonna exile me out of that bar because on the pregame
last week.
Yeah, because at the bar, out in the pregame, I basically said I felt like this was a trap game, not just because of the Jaguars coming in, but because of Doug, because of the rain. Sure. It just was more validity. And for me, it was like, oh God, please let me be wrong this time. No, when they went up, when they went up 14-0, I'm like, oh God, please, I'm begging you, let me be wrong.
Right.
And when they came, so this is what you get is that with even the talent level of the Jaguars, the Eagles got punched in the face and they could have rolled over.
Right.
But they didn't.
Right.
They said, okay, cool, that's what you got, fine. And I love what Jalen said. We didn't flinch.
Yeah, well, everything happened so fast they didn't even get a chance to get set and get going.
Right.
So there was that. Usually when teams get into that, I'm like, oh man, but I really didn't have that feeling.
That feeling.
No, I mean for a split second, maybe like, wow, we're down, 2 touchdowns already, but not.
I just don't like being not right in that way.
But not how are we going to come back from this?
Yeah.
Well, so it goes back to you guys been talking about the quarterback. It's his mentality.
Yeah.
Also, another thing you mentioned about Sirianni, and you said he trusts Hurts. One of the things that I'm still figuring him out too, right? I'm personally, but when he gave up the play calling, that spoke volumes to me on another levels.
Tom brought that up, and I said, but I can't trust Steichen because I don't know what he really brings to the table. But now I trust both.
Well, come to find out, last year when they changed the offense to the running game, Steichen was a part of that, right? Moving forward, we can't. I mean, Sirianni definitely has his hands in the offense. We know that. But if it's a play call, he doesn't want to go. I'm sure he'll change it. But the fact that because most young coaches come into a market like this want to pull chest out. I'm the man for this team, for this organization, for this city. He says, you know what? Nah, I'm going to let everybody have their lane. Steichen, you handle this. Gannon, I got my eyes on you because, that defense and special team, and I'm going to just, run the team.
Well,
I commend them for that.
A key example of that exact point you bring up is Joe Judge when he was with the Giants. He stuck his chest out. Oh, I'm Joe Judge. I'm the Giants. And you failed miserably because you couldn't get out of your own way.
Yeah.
Nick Sirianni's like, I just want to be successful, and I want them to be successful. And when you play for the guy beside you versus the guy that you know yourself, you tend to have more success as a team. And I'm
particularly that sport.
Yeah, and I heard a quote from an interview with Jason Kelce, and this guy's seen a lot of things on this team, and in the time he's been here. And he said, I have never seen a locker room so close like this one.
I was just thinking about that locker room. They talked about that.
Yeah. And this is the same guy who was on the 2017 team. Like, you have to keep in mind, if this guy's saying that at this point, that's got to raise your confidence level in what this team could bring to the table and what they can do to an all new. I trust Jason Kelce. Like, not a doubt. I trust him in so many different ways, believe me. But I trust when he says it, he means it.
Yeah. No, I've heard that. They've been talks that the locker room is set. He lets those guys, the Kelce's, the Brandon Grahams, the Fletcher Coxes, those guys, take care of the locker room. I honestly, man, I have to say this. I don't give this team the flowers, man. For me as a fan, it's a joy to see a team that won the Super Bowl 5 years ago, went through the things that unfortunately had to go through with Carson in those situations. But for Howie to turn this around, and the big thing, James, is a couple of years ago, how they were talking about the team was aging. He literally brought youth to the team.
Yeah,
he literally, you still have to keep your vets, right? You have your
but
vets.
there was a huge injection of youth in this team over the last 2.5 seasons.
Yeah, and not just the youth, but these guys can actually play, right? So that's man, I salute him for that. And then you bring in, so then Joe, next year, and I know Frank and those guys like to talk, jump the gun with the draft, but I'm not even at the draft, but I'm just saying what you can start thinking about is, replacing the Brandon Grahams if you haven't already. I know you got Jordan Davis to replace Fletcher Cox. You can just replenish that line. You can never have enough offensive linemen. Andy Reid taught me that. Andy Reid really, and really taught me about offensive line. And I should have learned when they didn't give Randall one, but I wasn't. But now as you get older, you go, oh, okay, I see. Because immediately after McNabb's first year, they bring in Runyon from Tennessee and signed him up to show, and it makes sense. Andy Reid was an offensive lineman, and Howie has now done the same thing. I mean, we so you want to continue to replenish that. It's a good position, man.
Look, there's people on this network that hammer Howie Roseman daily, and Matty B, and he's entitled to his opinion. However, what he did in this past offseason,
you can't complain about it.
Find me something wrong with the moves that he made this offseason. Find me anything wrong with any of the moves that he made.
I'm going to,
and he's being held over the coals for picks that he made a decade ago.
Yeah.
But Danny Hawkinson,
but the guy learned from his mistakes. He touched the hot pot on the stove, burnt his hand, but then he didn't go back and grab the hot pot again.
No, he's listening to his scouts a lot more.
Yeah,
I really believe he's. And I don't know if you guys remember they caught it on tape when he had
at the draft for him
with the head
fist bump
with the head. Older guy.
Tom
Donahue.
Tom Donahue. Good stuff, James. And ever since then, man, I don't know if a switch flip, but he's listening to the scouts.
So I got to humble up, and as Tom has said about this network, there has been, as much as there's been a guy like Matty B, there's been a guy like Kyle Quinn. And he has been a Howie supporter for a very long time, and he's been the president of the Howie Roseman fan club, at least on this network.
Yeah.
I would like to officially apply for the Howie Roseman fan club.
Ooh.
I would like to officially put my application in.
Ooh.
For two reasons. I really Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I
some legal. I'm just saying.
Listen,
I'm not against it. I'm just saying.
I am trying to be as much of a man right now as I possibly can without losing my balls where they are. But I really have looked at Howie's body of work, and I've criticized it from time to time.
Sure.
But this is the only general manager, and God, I know Kyle is going to be like, yeah. So just hang on, Kyle. So he's the only general manager that I know of that not once but twice turned this team around in less than 3 years.
Yeah, man.
He did it to give us a Super Bowl championship caliber team.
Yeah, man.
After Chip Kelly.
Yeah.
He did then. Then he did it again when in some ways he broke it with Carson, and I'll continue to hold that over his head forever. But he fixed it. I can't hate. Look, Tom said,
what did he break with Carson?
The contract, the money. The giving him the contract too early.
Did anybody have an issue with that when he gave him the contract?
I did.
I didn't.
But everyone also said that he gave it to him too soon. You could have let it play out because you still had him. They gave it to him after like week 6.
Right, which he normally does. And he also, too, I think that because of the circumstances with him putting us in position, I'm always going to give Carson credit for that, to win the Super Bowl. And then, Foles goes on to do what he does. I think he just wanted to kind of make him a little happy. He's going to give it to him regardless.
Right.
But I think it was a combination of that. But I think in the end, I'm not blaming. Listen,
it just, in my opinion, I felt like the contract for Carson was a mistake.
And I don't want to jump. It's like people want to blame Doc Rivers for Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons was Ben Simmons before.
No, I agree. I agree.
So you can't blame Doc Rivers for it. Right. And he's still the same way. Just watching him last night or the night before. So in regards to when people say that, yeah, when you.
But Doc's not paying Ben.
No.
Howie is. Howie's the one making those financial decisions.
But can you honestly say that I know I didn't think Carson was going to go way left?
Nobody.
He went way left, Joe. For like no reason. So
you asked this man.
There was a reason.
This man.
He's not psychologically tough enough. He's not mentally tough enough.
We come to find that out later. And so is the other guy.
Right. You asked this man. I had very little to no faith in Carson Wentz. I think he's a talented player. I just don't think he's a talented leader. But there's a big distinction there.
No, you're right. But that year, man, and I don't want to press as much, but I was talking to my buddy about this 2 weeks ago. That dude was on fire. Like, there were games. Remember the game? I think it was against Washington
where
they had him, he dunked.
Corey Clement.
Yeah, and he hit, and it's like he was just
across his body, across the field of the corner.
Keep in mind of something. I bring up, at least in this 2 or 3 year window for Howie, that the Carson Wentz contract, that's my own probably personal opinion. But we all talk about the Jalen Reagor and the missed draft picks and everything. Yeah, we've criticized Howie to death on that. Yep. But this guy,
that was horrible.
This guy has rebuilt this team in 2 different windows of time within under 3 years.
Yeah.
I don't know of any other general manager in the league that has done that.
And put you in a position where think about this, y'all.
Right.
This team is right now the only undefeated team in the league in a position for one of the highest draft picks. That's.
And so, Kyle, I send this out as an edict to you. I fall to my knees and plead for acceptance into the Howie Roseman fan club.
Kyle's not who you go to. You have to go through me.
Yeah, man. I've never been
and then I have to bring your case to Kyle and present it to him. I'm your arbitrator.
Yeah, that doesn't mean.
I'll get you in.
That doesn't mean I had to have beef with him.
A little work.
But I was never like, get rid of him. I was Howie.
Just do me a favor. Do your best Perry Mason impression because I'm going to need all the help I can get.
I'll take care of it.
I don't know, dude. I've been watching Barnaby Jones lately, man. I don't know, dude. Like 4 a.m, I get up.
Now understand
Jones,
something. I'm usually on Matty B's show with the final. This is going to make
it's a lot of you might have to do old school and write a letter
Yes. Like when you played football for a different Catholic school, you had to get the priest to write a letter for you.
Okay, yeah.
So I might have to write a letter for you.
Yeah, you can't just slide in.
Yeah,
man. That's like,
it's gonna
Yeah, it's gonna take some. And it may not even happen this year.
I had two different friends come to me. I had two different friends come to me, Rob Swavely and Thomas McCarron. Rob was a Cowboys fan. Tommy McCarron was a Niners fan. Both came to me and asked for acceptance and being accepted as an Eagles fan. So I got a lot of pull around these parts.
Yeah, TK.
And understand I'm still possibly doing some Phillies final with Matty B. So this is going to make shockwaves down to him.
Yeah, I'm stuck.
And for me, listen, I own it. I was wrong. I made a mistake.
Clipping this out right now. You're not going to piss on your balls.
Listen. Listen, that guy, man. I mean, like I said, I never was one to get rid of him, but did I like some of the picks? No, I'm like, no. What are you doing? But then, I mean, I go back to this past draft. We were like what 21, 22, whatever we were. I'm like, the draft takes just to get through the first 3 rounds.
Well, what did I say before the offseason? I said I want linebackers. What did this guy do?
Norm checks in. Can I have acceptance to keep hating the Cowboys? Yes, you can.
That's a lifetime membership.
Yeah,
that's a badge of honor.
That's a badge of honor. But it's like I doze off. I get up. I go, "What are the Eagles?" I'm like, "Oh snap! They traded the first pick. Oh, we got AJ Brown." My brother-in-law, who's a huge Eagles fan, they were like, "Man, I didn't really know too much about AJ Brown." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I was watching him last year at Tennessee." In Tennessee, they said the coach was upset. And said, "Listen,
he left
how
the room.
Do you feel about moving AJ Brown?" He was like, "I forget." He wasn't for it. He was like, he wasn't.
He stormed out of the room
because they knew they were going to have a problem re-signing him, right? Yeah. They go make the move. He was not happy. To your point, Joe. And you can see they're missing him.
And you want to talk about how money can make the world go round, especially the little amount of money.
Yeah,
we're talking about the difference of $7 million. $7 million. That's the difference. Wow. Tennessee would not move on $7 million to keep him.
Yeah, that was it. If Howie could figure it out, Howie was going to figure it out.
Right, sure did. And I'm going to make a statement about AJ Brown that a lot of people, including maybe Joe Scorza, will probably disagree.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like AJ Brown could potentially become the best receiver
in Eagles history.
Yes.
Well, it's funny, and hear me out. And
my aunt could be my uncle if she had balls.
Yeah. He catches everything.
Yeah. He looks like T.O. out
there. But he will have a longer tenure than T.O., and he'll do more.
You're not a psychopath.
You know what I picked up on? And this is not fair to the guy. I don't hate on the guy like people do, but I think he's doing what they want a Rager to do. Mm-hmm. If you recall that game last year when Hurts hit Rager, I forget who they were playing, and he drops the ball right in front of the end zone. We could have maybe possibly won the game. I forget who it was against. And I looked, it was a play this year when he hits AJ Brown. I said, that's the stuff they want a Rager to do, but he's not. I'm not comparing the two, but it's just that Rager obviously wasn't built for that position. And this guy can play slant.
Rager's not built for Troy football. Like he can't make the Troy football team.
He's not gonna play flag football that weekend at the
No. He might want to join the Frisbee League at this point.
Maybe he could make that shoddy Roman Catholic squad.
I'll even give Roman some props. He may not even make that squad.
Just for
He's
you,
not
Frank.
That bad. He's not that bad. He's gonna flourish. He's gonna be a Pro Bowl now. But the thing is, the thing is that he's.
Is there a gas leak in here?
Jesus Christ! Yeah, I had bratwurst yesterday. There is a gas leak. I had bratwurst yesterday.
Mick Pro Bowl. Okay, if that guy even goes to the Pro Bowl and buys a ticket, I'll be surprised.
Listen, before we get out of here,
we're going backwards.
Before we get out of here, I would like to get predictions for Sunday's game.
Ooh.
So
I can't get a feel yet. I'm never with a feel.
So shot this, he said. So I have a feeling this is going to be a tough one. And I like on the field talent. A lot of people are saying the Eagles are just way more talented than these guys, but traveling across country does do something to you. Playing at different times and stuff like that. I'm going to say Eagles 28, Cardinals 24. It's going to be close. I hope. I like it, Joe. I hope I'm wrong. I don't know.
I feel like this is going to be someone said something on 94 WIP yesterday that made so much sense. It was a caller, and he basically said it's going to be a track meet. And if you recall, 2020, Jalen Hurts versus Kyler Murray, they combined, the teams combined for over 700 some yards of offense and over 70 points combined for both teams.
They were the same team that got at Oklahoma, right? I know one.
Yes. But so basically, that was a shootout. And Kyler just had another bullet in the chamber more than Jalen did that game.
And Jalen was thrust into the starting position.
Yes. Right? And that was one of Jalen's best offensive games up to that point. And so for me, it's a matter of this is going to be a track meet. Now, is Jalen better now than he was like in 2020?
Yeah.
I think absolutely. I think he's got better weapons. I'm kind of on the same border with Joe, but I don't have enough confidence in Jonathan Gannon yet to kind of give him just letting his defense give 17 points up. I think it's going to be a track meet on both ends. I think it's going to be 38-34 Birds.
Yeah, Frank has 34-30 Birds.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a track meet.
You said 30-30?
I think it's going to be not as close as I thought it was going to be. Because they're missing DeAndre Hopkins still, and I think that's going to be a big factor. Yep. And I think I don't think it's going to be like a close game at all. I think the Eagles are going to blow them out. I think it's going to be 37-14 Eagles.
Wow.
Fire Howie now and forever. I guess you can figure out who sent that message into the text board.
Great. So he heard what I said. Thank you. Here we go.
You know,
I will not be attending Fighting's final tonight because he might not even let me on.
Sneak out what you just
well,
said.
you know, since he's like having a Flyers show, I should say Fire Fletcher just to get back at him.
Just to get back at him.
But that's a given. That's low hanging fruit. Why
is that?
Why? I mean, isn't it obvious? The guy.
The team sucks.
Listen, Chuck Fletcher could throw a dart at a dartboard and do better GMing that way than he has now.
I think he'll miss it. I think he'll be high and wide if you get what I'm saying. Every time when he throws it,
I think he's high and wide, but that's a different story for a different show.
Right.
So yeah, this game, it's funny. The past. I don't know. I know the Minnesota game, I couldn't get a feel. I can't really get a feel on this one. I've been studying it, looking at it. What I will say, I'm curious. Joey brought up a point about Gannon, how they're going to defend Kyler Murray, because I know because he's missing some of his weapons. Does have Ertz out there? How they're going to attack him?
I think James Conner's with them too, right?
Linebackers are definitely crucial. Edwards and those guys.
Keep in mind, there's a name.
Kobe Dean. Yeah,
there's a name to keep in mind with the Cardinals' offense that people are overlooking. Andy Isabella. He's a receiver. He's fast. He's not going to be. He's not going to be protected by Slay or Bradbury. So he could be. And Maddox.
I heard much about him too.
Slay's playing. Maddox is out.
Yeah.
Yep. Slay's playing. Maddox is out. I think that the momentum is going to help. I think it might be, to you guys' point, it might be like a little shootout and might come down to the end. 24, I'll say 30, 31, 17, 31. I think the Eagles pull it out 31-17.
All right. Well, listen, there's our predictions. Thank you, everybody, for checking in with us. For Frank Finnegan, who called in, and Dave Arnold, who's not here, Joe Marks, James Scorza, and Damon Salim, I'm Tom Kelly. This is the Pattison Ave Phanatics Show. Go Birds, go Phils. We are out of here.